The entire sports landscape is trembling right now after reports surfaced that ESPN has allegedly dropped a permanent ban on LeBron James. This dramatic turn unfolded immediately following a wild, off-script confrontation with Shaquille O'Neal that reportedly turned physical while the cameras were still rolling, music forcing the network to hit the emergency brake and shut everything down fast. LeBron has never been the type to swallow his words when media personalities take shots at him, and that fire has burned throughout his entire career. This isn't unfamiliar territory either. Rewind all the way to January 2017, LeBron had finally hit his breaking point after years of enduring Charles Barkley's jabs on TNT's asterisk inside the NBA asterisk. He went straight to ESPN and declared, quote, "He's a hater." Then he challenged what makes Barkley's opinion credible simply because he has a TV platform. Barkley, never one to hold back, had called LeBron, quote, "whiny asterisk" and asterisk inappropriate after LeBron voiced concerns about Cleveland's roster. But LeBron fired right back, saying, "I'm not going to let him disrespect my legacy like that. I'm not the one who threw somebody through a window." That moment set the tone for everything that followed. LeBron made it crystal clear he wasn't going to operate behind the scenes or send quiet messages through PR teams. He handled it openly, music, calling people out by name and daring them to say it to his face. He even told ESPN, "If this makes him want to talk to me, the schedule's out there. He knows every road arena I'll be in. Don't just come up to me at All-Star and shake my hand and smile." His inner circle had his back in a major way. Dwayne Wade told the asterisk Chicago Tribune, "Thank God he finally said something. LeBron, a lot of guys take a lot of shots at him, but it's about time he said something." Carmelo Anthony kept it real too. "At the end of the day, I think he is human. Like we all are human, it affects us in certain ways. Even with superstar status, the relentless pressure and non-stop criticism clearly hit differently." That Barkley incident wasn't random, it was a warning shot. LeBron was sending a loud and clear message to every voice in sports media. There's a limit, and he wasn't letting anyone cross it anymore. People watched it happen, but somehow the lesson didn't stick. Years later, history repeated itself, but this time with way more tension and much bigger consequences. The next situation didn't stay inside interviews or studio debates. It jumped straight into real life, right in front of cameras and fans. At Madison Square Garden during a live game, LeBron pulled up on Stephen A. Smith courtside and spoke his mind in the moment. No filter, no delay, just raw confrontation in one of the biggest arenas in the world. That New York moment shifted everything. In March 2025, LeBron confronted Stephen A. Smith during a Lakers vs. Knicks game after Smith's on-air comments about Bronny James started making noise everywhere. The clip spread like wildfire, showing LeBron up close, delivering serious words that had everyone talking. Both sides kept addressing it across different platforms, but the tension boiled down to one thing: Bronny. LeBron believed Smith was going after his son just to take shots at him. Smith pushed back hard, saying if Bronny is in the NBA, then he gets analyzed like every other player, no exceptions. Stephen A. later broke down exactly what happened that night. He said, "I went up and saw him when he rolled up on me. I said, 'Yo man, we can go to the back.' He's like, 'F that.' I'm like, 'We go to the back. We go to the back and talk about it after the game. I'll wait.' In music he was like, 'No.'" Smith made it clear he didn't want a scene in the middle of the game, but by then it was already too late. The moment had already exploded everywhere. But that courtside confrontation wasn't the end. Not even close. If anything, it kicked off an entirely new phase of drama. What LeBron did next clearly crossed the line for Stephen A. Smith, and he didn't hold back when talking about it. Smith recalled, "So after that, that wasn't bad, that wasn't enough. This dude goes on ESPN asterisk McAfee and he went on there just to insult me." LeBron didn't sit quietly after the criticism, music, and what followed turned into one of the strangest stretches in sports media lately. You had a four-time NBA champion pulling up on a TV personality in the middle of Madison Square Garden and then taking it even further online and on shows. The back and forth didn't fade. It took over music headlines for weeks and had everyone picking sides. Smith came out swinging, calling LeBron's actions weak. LeBron answered with a social media jab, posting old boxing clips of Smith to clown him. Then things got messy fast. Smith claimed LeBron skipped Kobe Bryant's memorial service, a statement he walked back and apologized for just hours later. That slip added even more heat to an already tense situation. Smith made it clear there was never any real connection between them. "LeBron and I have never rocked with one another," he said. "We never, and I'm fine with it," he explained on the Impulsive podcast. He also admitted, "The fact that I music don't view you as the GOAT really pissed me off, and that's been a long-running issue." Smith has always stood firmly on Michael Jordan's side in the GOAT debate, pointing to that perfect 6-0 finals record. By now, a pattern was getting hard to ignore. LeBron had checked media figures more than once, going at Barkley with words and confronting Stephen A. face-to-face courtside. Both moments involved major names with huge platforms, and both created real consequences that went beyond just talk. This wasn't just random drama anymore. It was becoming a trend. LeBron wasn't interested in playing friendly with critics sitting behind desks anymore. If something felt out of line, he addressed it directly, loudly, and publicly. So when tensions started building with Shaquille O'Neal, it hit differently. This wasn't just another analyst throwing opinions around. This was someone he shared a locker room with, someone who was supposed to be in his corner. That's what made it feel personal. This wasn't media versus athlete. It felt like loyalty being questioned. These two weren't strangers. They had history, real moments, even grand gestures like a $450,000 Rolls-Royce birthday gift. So when things started going left, it carried way more weight than a typical disagreement. To really understand how things got here, you have to rewind to the 2009-10 Cleveland Cavaliers. That's when Cleveland made a huge move, bringing in Shaquille O'Neal from the Phoenix Suns to team up with LeBron and chase a championship the city had been waiting decades for. The pairing instantly grabbed attention. It had that superstar duo energy, people compared to legends like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen or Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Shaq was already locked in as an all-time great. 4 championships, 3 finals MVPs, a league MVP, and coming off his 15th and final All-Star season. At the same time, 25-year-old LeBron was stepping fully into his prime. This was his final run in Cleveland before his next chapter, and expectations were sky-high. Shaq even said during ESPN's draft coverage, "I was elated about the trade because I get to play with one of the greatest players to ever play the game in LeBron James." He was expecting, quote, "a lot of fun, a lot of smiling, and a lot of winning." LeBron showed that same respect right back. "Shaq is an incredible ball player and a 4-time NBA champion. I have a lot of respect for him and his game. It would be a real honor to play with Shaq." By the time Shaq arrived, LeBron was already a seasoned star, 7 years deep and widely seen as one of the best in the league. Every night his teammates moved how he moved. Music. Shaq quickly realized LeBron wasn't just another star on the roster. He was the loudest voice in the room, the one everybody followed. Even the big fella had to fall in line like the rest. Shaq later admitted it straight up. "It was the first time I didn't have to do anything." But behind the scenes in Cleveland, things weren't as smooth as they looked. In his autobiography, Shaq described the environment around LeBron. "Our coach Mike Brown was a nice guy, but he had to live on edge because nobody was supposed to be confrontational with LeBron. Nobody wanted him to leave Cleveland, so he was allowed to do whatever he wanted to do." Shaq recalled a film session where LeBron didn't get back on defense after a missed shot, and Mike Brown said nothing. The next clip got tense real fast. Mo Williams didn't hustle back on defense and Coach Mike Brown called him out right there. Then Delonte West stood up and said, "Hold up now, you music can't be pussyfooting around like that. Everyone has to be accountable for what they do, not just some of us." That line hit the room heavy. And then Shaq dropped something even more serious later on, writing, "LeBron never really did listen to the coach." Those words, printed in a book for everyone to see, landed like a quiet explosion. Shaq was basically telling the world that LeBron played by a different set of rules in Cleveland. Even if things looked cool on the surface, there were cracks underneath. The relationship between a legend nearing the end and a rising superstar wasn't as smooth as people thought. It had tension built into it. On paper, the Shaq-LeBron run looked strong. They won 61 games under Mike Brown and made it to the Eastern Conference semifinals but got stopped by the Celtics. Shaq also missed 5 weeks with a thumb injury during that 2010 season, which didn't help their momentum. Still, when it ended, both sides kept it respectful. Their split wasn't about personal issues, it was about business and timing. LeBron needed a better path to championships, and Cleveland wasn't giving him that. Shaq, on the other hand, wanted a longer contract that the team wasn't offering. Even with that, the friendship was real. Shaq once dropped $450,000 on a Rolls-Royce for LeBron's 25th birthday. That's not a small gesture. A gift like that shows how tight they were, which is exactly why what happened later felt so unexpected. When Shaq moved from the court to the studio, everything changed. He wasn't a teammate anymore, wasn't tied to locker room loyalty. Now he was part of the media world, where opinions drive everything and debates keep the spotlight on. As Shaquille O'Neal stepped into his role as an ESPN analyst, his tone around LeBron slowly shifted. At first, it sounded like normal veteran advice, respectful, measured. But over time, it started getting sharper, more direct, and harder to ignore. Then came the 2025-26 season stretch that got people talking. LeBron missed 14 games dealing with sciatica, and when he came back, he looked a step off. That opened the door for questions. Was this finally the slowdown everyone had been waiting on? Shaq, having been through the end of a career himself, recognized the signs, but the way he said it raised eyebrows. He said, "Man, I don't want to be the one to say LeBron is a complimentary player. It's just that I think LeBron knows and understands that at some point this thing comes to an end." That line alone had people reacting. He shared this during an appearance on the Dan Patrick Show. Shaq kept going, "I mean, LeBron is smart enough to know to let these guys cook. I'm not going to be the guy to say, LeBron, you need to be a complimentary player. LeBron knows and understands how to win, knows and understands how to run a team." And all the greats come to this point. On the surface, it sounded calm, even respectful. But if you really listen, there's a message underneath. For For someone like LeBron, still putting up big numbers, still leading deep runs, still holding it down as a franchise centerpiece alongside Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, that kind of public label hits differently. It's like being told to step aside while you're still in control of the game. To LeBron, hearing that from a former teammate probably didn't feel like advice. It felt like a warning shot, like someone was already writing the ending while he was still out there competing at a high level. And that's where things really started to turn. For nearly 2 decades, LeBron James was the system. Everything ran through him and every team he played on moved to his rhythm. But now, things were starting to look different for the Lakers' superstar. For the first time in his legendary career, he actually had the option to step back a bit and let younger, more explosive teammates take over stretches of the game. That shift didn't go unnoticed, and the commentary came in fast. Charles Barkley said LeBron was starting to wear down, while Shaquille O'Neal didn't hide his frustration after the Lakers dropped Game 5 to the Rockets. Even before that series tipped off, Shaq had already set the tone, saying, "This is a must-win for the Lakers, with the Rockets' #1 guy down. The question is, who's going to be that guy for the Lakers?" That question hit different because for over 20 years there was never any doubt about who that guy was. It was always LeBron James. No discussion needed. But now Shaq was putting it out there like it was up for debate, live on ESPN in front of millions. That alone suggested that, in his eyes, LeBron might not be the clear leader of his own team anymore. Soon, reports started picking up steam that LeBron was throwing subtle shots back at Shaq and Barkley during ESPN appearances. Nothing too direct, but enough for people paying attention to catch. The tension wasn't loud at first, it was layered. Social media posts, indirect comments, carefully chosen words. Both sides were clearly sending messages without saying everything outright. Then things got more serious. Shaquille O'Neal reportedly confronted LeBron over what he saw as disrespect, not just toward him and Barkley, but toward NBA legends like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and others. That moment pushed everything to another level. The tension was no longer hidden. It was building toward something bigger. At that point, it was only a matter of time. All it needed was the right setting, live TV, no script, cameras rolling, and everything would spill over. And that's exactly what happened. Years of frustration stacked up for LeBron, constant debates about his legacy, criticism involving Bronny, the "he's slowing down" narratives, the complimentary player talk, and now questions about whether he was still the guy on his own team. All of it collided the moment he and Shaq came face to face on a live ESPN broadcast. And what followed wasn't normal sports drama. It was something way bigger. This wasn't a slick post-game quote or a subtle podcast jab. This was raw, unfiltered tension between two of the biggest names the game has ever seen. Former teammates turned former friends. One of them once dropped nearly $500,000 on a Rolls-Royce for the other, and now they were standing there under bright lights going at each other with no way to walk it back. Then the rumors really exploded. Talk of a heated tunnel confrontation between Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James had the entire NBA world locked in. Clips, reactions, breakdowns, it spread everywhere online within hours. Everyone had something to say and nobody could look away. What made this situation stand out even more was who LeBron was clashing with. This was Barkley or Stephen A. Smith. This was Shaq. After Shaq retired, LeBron had openly shown respect for him and the inside the NBA * crew, saying their opinions mattered more because they actually lived the NBA experience. And that's exactly why this felt personal. That respect turned into disappointment real quick because Shaq wasn't just another voice on TV. He was someone who knew the pressure, knew the spotlight, knew exactly what comes with being that guy. And still, from that ESPN desk, he joined in on questioning whether LeBron still had it. At the same time, reality made things even more complicated. When LeBron pushed the Lakers to the second round of the 2026 playoffs, it showed he wasn't done yet, not even close. He was battling through injuries, carrying a roster missing key pieces with Luka Doncic out for the entire postseason and Austin Reeves not returning until Game 5 against Houston. That's what made everything so awkward, because despite all the tension, all the shots, all the public back and forth, both sides were still tied to each other in a way they couldn't fully ignore. LeBron dragged a heavily undermanned Lakers squad past the Rockets in 6 games. No excuses, no shortcuts, just straight production when it mattered most. So when Shaq kept sitting in that studio questioning if LeBron was still that guy, it was only a matter of time before something music snapped. At this point, everyone had already seen the pattern. LeBron checked Barkley with words. He pulled up on Stephen A. Smith in public on camera with zero hesitation. So when the noise kept coming, the next step didn't surprise anyone paying attention. LeBron was the last man standing, a source close to James told ESPN. That statement carried weight. It painted a picture of a player holding everything together while critics, some of them former teammates, sat back and questioned his value from a distance. That kind of narrative doesn't just fade away, it builds pressure. ESPN didn't take long to react. This is a network built on debates and strong opinions, but even they saw the situation was crossing into dangerous territory. This wasn't just hot takes anymore. There were real concerns. Concerns about on-air talent being put in uncomfortable situations. Concerns about what message it sends if players start confronting analysts live without consequences. So the network stepped in and made a move that shook the entire sports world. Stephen A. Smith had been one of LeBron's loudest critics for years, challenging his GOAT case and even speaking on Bronny's place in the league. ESPN had already seen how LeBron reacts when he feels disrespected. This time, they weren't taking chances. At the same time, LeBron made a major career decision. Instead of locking into a long-term extension, he chose to opt into the final year of his contract. That move came with a statement from his agent Rich Paul speaking to ESPN's Shams Charania. LeBron wants to compete for a championship, Paul said. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage in his life and career. He wants to make every season he has left count. That statement hits differently when you line it up with everything that's been happening. This isn't just about contracts or roster moves anymore. It's deeper than that. It's about legacy, respect, and how a player of LeBron's level is being talked about at this stage of his journey. You're talking about someone in his 40s who's done almost everything possible in the sport. And yet, it feels like some of the loudest voices, people who should understand the grind the most, are the ones questioning him the hardest. That's where the real tension sits. Even now, years removed from those legendary finals battles with Stephen Curry, the league is still shaped by those two names. At 37 and 40, they're still setting the tone, still drawing attention, still controlling the conversation in ways younger players are chasing. LeBron isn't some past tense superstar. He's still active, still producing, still making playoff pushes, and still dominating headlines across the league. And here's the twist that makes everything even crazier. Dylan Brooks, someone who's gone at LeBron for years, showed more public respect than some of his critics. He said, "I don't think it's his last year, I think he's got one more in him. He's got a phenomenal career and battled everybody and done it at a high level throughout. It's been amazing to watch overall, a pleasure to battle against him." That says a lot. A rival who's been in the trenches against LeBron is giving him credit, recognizing the level he's still playing at. Meanwhile, a former teammate, someone Music, who once stood beside him chasing a title, is now one of the voices raising doubts. That contrast stands out, and it adds even more weight to everything that's unfolded. Shaq came to Cleveland with one mission: win a ring for the king. That was the promise, but it never happened. Fast forward years later, and now he's sitting in a TV studio giving strong opinions about that same king's decline. That switch-up didn't go unnoticed. So, the big music question is, did ESPN actually ban LeBron James? That word sounds heavy for a reason. Here, what's really clear. ESPN made moves to create distance between LeBron and their on-air shows after everything went down. And honestly, the network was put in a tough spot. LeBron isn't just any player, he's one of the most marketable athletes ever. He brings attention, ratings, and non-stop conversation just by showing up. But at the same time, ESPN has to protect its staff, its image, and the structure of its broadcast. Music: when a current player steps to an analyst on live TV and things go beyond simple debate, that's where the line gets real. That's not something a network can just ignore and keep it moving. Looking at the full picture, this didn't come out of nowhere. From calling Barkley a hater back in 2017 to confronting Stephen A. Smith courtside in 2025 and then the situation with Shaq, LeBron has made it clear he's not following the usual rules anymore. Like he said himself, "I'm tired of biting my tongue." And that right there is the core of everything. LeBron doesn't believe that just because someone retires, they can freely take shots at players still grinding on the court. On the other side, analysts like Barkley, Stephen A., and Shaq believe it's their job to speak honestly no matter who it's about. Both sides have a point. But when those mindsets clash live with cameras rolling and millions watching, things can go left fast. That's when boundaries have to be set. ESPN made their move. LeBron pushed past that line, and now the fallout is bigger than just one moment. It could shape how players and media deal with each other moving forward. Call it a ban, call it a restriction, call it a cool-off period. Whatever name you put on it, the message hit loud and clear: there are limits even for the king. Now the real question is, what happens next? Does LeBron adjust and move differently, or does he see this as just another obstacle to power through? Only time is going to answer that. One thing is certain though, when LeBron said, "I'm tired of biting my tongue, there's a new sheriff in town," Music, he wasn't playing. He meant every word then, and he's still standing on it now. The only difference is the stakes are way higher this time. Music. If you made it this far, tap that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who's been following this whole situation. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was ESPN right, or did they go too far? And stay music locked in. More stories like this coming soon. See you on the next one.